2011 Leader Bike Battle, Part 2. BMW S1000RR, Kawasaki ZX-10R. You saw the first half, Button Willow Racetrack. Just a quick summary. Although it was a really tight battle, if you remember, or you need to go back and read, we kind of favored the Beamer at the track, and a lot of that had to do with its pretty big horsepower advantage. Otherwise, there were a lot of things that kept these bikes pretty close in terms of performance and what we liked, but ultimately we chose the BMW as a racetrack weapon, as it were. Today is the street ride, and maybe ostensibly more important comparison when we think of, or at least we speculate, how often people that buy these motorcycles probably don't spend a lot of time on the racetrack and they spend a lot more time on the street. With that said, between Troy and I, and after a full day of riding the canyons and surface streets and some highway, we're going to hedge the Kawi as the better street ride, largely for its overall ergonomic package. Felt like it had a lot more room in the cockpit also, so it was easier to kind of move around in the cockpit.
So to kind of rehash what Pete said, we picked the Beamer for the track test and the Kawasaki for the street test. And for me personally, I chose the Kawasaki mainly because, to put it, briefly, it was a lot easier for me to go quicker, faster on the Kawasaki than it was for the BMW. The ergonomic package, I could adjust to it a lot easier than I could the BMW. The chassis just felt better to me than the BMW. By better, I mean, I could roll through turns. I could more easily than I could on the BMW. Like Pete said, fluidity throughout the motorcycle. I felt more as one with the bike than I did with the BMW. Clearly, the BMW is not a bad motorcycle, but just like in the track test, on the street test, we're splitting hairs that are, super fine. And so, overall, the Kawasaki does not, still has the power disadvantage to the BMW. But for me, in this particular application, that was a good thing, because you really can't use all that power in the BMW anyway. It's so high in the RPMs, and the power is more usable, more tractable, more user-friendly, and between the high, medium, and low settings, there's a setting there for pretty much any rider, assuming you've got the skills to handle a leader bike in the first place. But yeah, overall, the package to me for the Kawasaki just felt more comfortable, and I just could go quicker on it faster. That's mainly why I chose it.
I'm going to go ahead and say that it strikes me as kind of a typical ABS system. It's not, you cannot disable it. It's always on, unlike the ABS for the BMW, which you can switch off. Otherwise, is great braking, as we know from the Takiko calipers, but in terms of the ABS function, it really didn't strike me as any different or more advanced than ABS systems that I've ridden on some modern sport touring motorcycles. This system on the Kawi strikes me as just at this point in history of motorcycling, I would almost characterize as kind of average or run-of-the-mill ABS. It's there, it works fine, but it certainly isn't anything special. On the other hand, the BMW, I think, is a much more refined system. It works as some kind of interplay with the DTC, dynamic traction control, so depending on the level of mode that you're in on the BMW, changes the amount of intervention from the ABS, or threshold of activation of the ABS. Great Brembos, we said that in the track test, liked them just as well, maybe even more so on the street. Excellent power, excellent feel. Could dig into the brake application so much so as to put the back end up in the air, kind of an endo. We don't really have that documented, so you'll have to take my word for it. But was easily able to raise the back wheel off the ground and still didn't get any activation or discernible activation from the ABS.
Alright, so to kind of wrap things up, let's talk about a really subjective matter and styling. Personally, and I think I speak for Kevin and Pete when I say that this Kawasaki is possibly the best looking ZX-10 Kawasaki has ever made. To me, it looks better than the BMW. Never a big fan of the BMW styling. It looks kind of weirdish, and the whole asymmetrical thing wasn't a big shining point for me. This ZX-10 just looks sharp, just looks mean. Kawi green is a proven winning color in my opinion, so you can't go wrong there. All the clearances with these gaps are spot on and consistent throughout. Yeah, there's no odd wires anywhere. There's nothing out of place. Not that the BMW is any worse, but there's something about this Kawasaki, for me, feels like it's got better fit and finish. The styling is better in my opinion, and overall, it's a subjective criteria and category to go into, but part of the buying decision when it comes to leader bikes is not even so much as performance nowadays as much as I like the way that bike looks. So to me, Kawasaki has got that styling part down with the ZX-10 for 2011.